Welcome to the Seven Sense podcast. This is a space to explore, reflect, and share.
Open conversations for the heart, mind, and soul. Welcome back to the Seven Sense podcast. This is episode 7. My name is Eugene Gishaga.
My name is Edna Njeri.
Before we start anything, or we go ahead, how's your week? How are you feeling?
My week's been okay. Got a lot of content stuff done this week, which was good. I mean, I'm feeling okay.
Yeah. Scale of 1 to 10.
Like 5.
Okay. My week has been good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want to give it maybe a 7. The thing is just work things kind of moved. Creatively, I got to do a bit more of what I wanted to do with this week. So I'm happy with how the week went. Yeah. Been a good week. And I guess as always, before we start the episode, we try and just ask each other a couple of questions that allows us for you guys to get to know us, and also for us to kind of just get into each other a bit more. So I guess I'll let Edna ask the questions.
If you had to describe yourself with 3 words, what would they be?
I always struggle with these things of describe yourself, tell me about yourself. 3 words. I feel like just humble brag, anything I say from here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm kind. I'm gentle with people, so I think I'm just gentle. And quirky at the same time. I think that's how I describe myself. Yeah.
I would say determined, caring, organized. I feel like that's
Facts.
pretty...
Yeah. We should have done the reverse also of... So 3 words I can use to describe you. Ambitious. Confident. For sure. And loving. Yeah.
That's nice. I would say kind, smart, and patient.
Hey, Matt. Okay.
Okay. Tell us about one small decision that changed your life.
Oh, that's deep though.
It doesn't have to be. A small
Changed your
decision
life?
that changed my life is I stopped taking dairy. That
feel like that's
literally
shade,
changed
but
my...
okay.
That's...
I feel like you're shading me, but okay.
No, I'm not.
I'm joking.
It's my experience.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, cutting out dairy, even though I'll have the occasional Cold Stone.
Yeah.
It's crazy how I used to drink milk every day.
Facts.
Now that I see how my body reacts to milk. So...
I think I'd say when I started running, I didn't know I was going to enjoy it. There I do.
How did you start?
I think it was looking at this, they're called altitude masks. And I think I watched Creed. Something with a Creed 2, and then he's healing, he wears a mask when he's training in the gym. I'm like, yo, that looks so cool. And then I started reading, and then I'm like, oh shit, runners use them to train their lungs for a high altitude places. I was like, I bet. So I just started researching. I'm like, oh shit, running is actually a thing. So I got into it.
I just stopped taking milk because I think I watched something on Netflix and I was like, what? And then I was done.
At least you put me on.
Kinda.
And that being said, let's go into the episode. So episode 7 will be talking about, in the theme of relationships still.
Final episode.
Oh yeah, of the season. We're going to be talking about a relationship with a higher power / God / universe. However way you want to describe that being. I think that's a relationship we're trying to explore today. And I guess we'll just start off by figuring out what is higher power, from your understanding.
I use the dictionary to define it.
Yeah.
A higher power is a spirit or being, such as God, that has great strength, power, knowledge, etc., and that can affect nature and the lives of people.
Okay. That's accurate, you know.
Yeah.
For me, I think my understanding of what a higher power is, to me, it's like this. It's like a force that permeates like everything around us, and it's hella like intangible. It's more of a personal experience of it. So that's how I describe higher power for me. It's just like a force that moves through your life. You can't quite put your finger on what it is.
It's like a spirit. It's not like a physical thing.
No. So that's how I describe like a higher power. What do you feel like? I guess I wouldn't do it like maybe how we had looked at it. But how do you think like your upbringing, has like influenced your relationship like with your higher power?
So I grew up Christian, but my parents are Presbyterian and Catholic. So personally, I spent my childhood identifying as a Presbyterian because that's the church I went to every Sunday, so that's what I knew.
Yeah.
But then the flip side was I went to Catholic all-girls high school, so then I learned a lot about that side. So I kind of got a bit of both. But like growing up, I definitely was just like a Christian, Presbyterian. That's it.
So like growing up, your understanding of God / higher power / I'm not going to keep on saying these slashes again. I think like we just know we're talking about source or being that's greater than all of us.
Yeah, because actually when I was looking at it, I saw that higher power is really tied to like recovery and Alcoholic Anonymous. So we're not really...
It's not even, I think it's the concept.
More of the, what you're saying, source.
I think it's just sitting back and acknowledging that you're not the biggest thing in this world. There's something that governs you. Not governs, but something that rules what it is that's around us.
Yeah.
You get, so... End of the day, you still... that's a concept we'll get later on into the episode, but growing up, was it your understanding of like God was this guy who sits upstairs with a big beard, he's white, like whatever you were shown like Christianity, was that the image that was painted and that's what you grew up thinking, knowing and believing? Or what was your concept then when you were younger of God?
I just knew he was like in the sky and I knew it was a man. But then I never used to understand because you get on planes and you go in the sky and there's nothing there. So like, which sky? Like there's some things that never really connected, but that was my understanding. Some guy who he watches everything you do, he sees everything you do, and he's in the sky.
Okay.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
And that's where you go when you die. You will see him when you die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, same thing. So I was brought up Catholic. Both my parents are Catholic, so go to church, I went to catechism, even baptized, confirmed,
baptized,
like you go through all these things. But I think I started, because what I was going to lead to next is, like, when did you start, like, developing this relationship for yourself?
I think that there's things that I never really understood about church. And one thing was the way everything is instilled, not everything, but most things are instilled through shame. Like, it's not you should do this because XYZ. It's like you should do this because if you don't, that sort of approach. I never really understood why it was like that. Yet at the same time, this power has so much love for you and cares for you. But like, it just wasn't adding up. And then with the Catholic thing, I never understood why, like the concept of intercession, where you have to go to confess to someone, then they'll pray for you, or you have to pray to a saint, and then they'll intercede for you. Yeah. So there's certain things about all these, like, both from the Presbyterian and the Catholic Church, that I was like, So then I felt like it made more sense for me for it to be a personal experience, just me and him outside. The structure of the church. Because I just had questions which I felt like couldn't be answered, but I still felt like in my heart this was important to me. So then
that's when you started.
That's when,
I mean, granted, I think mine started, the curiosity was I think we had gone to my uncle's place, and you see, like, you pray before you eat. And of course, growing up, you're told, let's close our eyes, let's pray. So I used to know, for us to pray, you have to close your eyes. So I don't know what happened this one time. I was just like, what's going to happen if I open my eyes as we're praying? So I opened my eyes, and then I saw my uncle's eyes open, like as we were praying. So I was just like, wait a second here. Why isn't he closing his eyes? I've always been told to close my eyes. That was like flag number one. I was like, nah, why is he not being able to? Like, why is he not closing his eyes? Yet we're still praying. 2 was when I think one of my friends came over for sleepover, then we were going to church on Sunday. I know how Catholic like service, like the mass is. There's a lot of standing, sitting, which is, so my homie, like, he was sitting there, he's just wondering, he's trying to keep up with what's happening because he's not seeing, like, we're sitting for a bit, then we stand up, we start singing, we sit down. And he just asked me, like, you guys do this every Sunday? I'm like, yeah. He was, I think, when he used to go to a Pentecostal church or something. So that also I started questioning it. I'm just like, but why the disparity in terms of how we pray to God and how we do our things so different? Second was the body of Jesus. I used to feel like, where are we eating the guy? And then where are we getting all this food? I thought like he died time ago. So why are we still eating him every Sunday? Where are we getting this shit from? So small things. So when I went to a boarding school, I started interacting with Muslims. I started interacting with people from different religions, and I'm like, oh, damn. So why all these differences? And yet, if there's one God,
the principle is the same.
You get, like, there's still one being up there. So I dabbled in Islam for a bit because, curiosity, I think, was what drove me to start wondering, what is it that I'm looking for? So like you're saying, there's something in you, but the curiosity drives you to start to understand all these differences, yet the principles is within them are kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
So for me, that's when it started. Just a curiosity to try and understand, how does this thing work? Because I feel like I want us to, what role or importance do you feel like now that relationship has played in your life? I think I'm going to combine 2 things here. I think as you've grown up, it's changed. Your relationship with your higher power has changed. But I think the change also comes with you placing new roles and importance of having this relationship.
I think I want you to go first.
Yeah. So I'll start with how it's changed as I've grown up. After trying Islam and then trying to be Buddhist.
When did you try to be Buddhist?
That was, I think, in high school, maybe. Like Form 1, Form 2. Because I went to the library and there was a book about it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, bet. I don't know if I told you the story before, yeah. So I saw it and I'm just like, oh, what, you guys, you meditate, you sit in your mind, and then I read about Buddha. I'm just like, oh, so he was a guy. Because I was not understanding how we're all the children of God, but then he had this one special child. Then I'm like, then what are we then? So I felt like that disconnect between how we all his children, but then there's a special child out of all these people in the world. Wasn't connecting. So at least with now Buddhism, this is a human guy. Not that he was born from an immaculate conception. Like, it sounded a bit more relatable because it's just a regular guy who achieved enlightenment. So it's like, okay, fine, that's attainable. The principles he left behind, that can be done. But also in high school, what do you know? You're still going through adolescence. You're just trying to figure. Yeah, you know.
There's a lot going on. Yeah.
So that was that. Then in uni is when I tried Islam because I found like a Quran in the house that was given to my dad by our uncle. And then I just started reading through the principles and then figuring out about Malcolm X, how he converted, how Muhammad Ali from Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali. I'm like, all these people, there's something they're finding in this thing. And Muslims are generally, let's put away all the extremism aside, but by virtue, they're pretty well-mannered people. They look out for each other. There's a certain peace within their religion. I was like, okay, cool, I'm really trying to tap into that. So as I grew, what I said understanding was, and we also get into that, is there's religion, which are all these principles that I'm seeing, all these doctrines. Mm-hmm. And then at the end where I'm at now is, I know I'm more into spirituality than religion. And that's been the evolution of my relationship with the higher power, because I felt in all these places there's still a being that's governing, and you still have to, it's still like trying to chase. I feel it's like chasing waterfalls. The moment you start dropping all these, it's a guy sitting upstairs, or you'll be punished if you don't do the 10 commandments. You know what I'm saying? Like all these like fear mongering that happens. I think I ended up being more like, you know what, I'll pick what works in all these religions and then just kind of like formulate my own, not rules, but my own way of living. A golden rule I pick is do unto others as you want them to do unto you. So that becomes a thing I try and move to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think initially my understanding was this spirit that they take care of everything. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to go through anything on your own. This person is just always watching out, so you'll be good either way. But you have to do, if you don't go to church on Sunday, this person's gonna be angry at you. I don't wanna say this person. Spirit, let's just say, is gonna be angry with you if you do this bad thing. You need to feel so guilty. So yeah, I think it's the same thing for me, where it was like religion and what my church expected of me to now just spirituality, because it's more of a deep sense of how I feel connected to source rather than my connection to the church in particular.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing for me.
Okay.
I don't really agree with any particular specific set of like organized beliefs or practices. It's more an individual thing. So definitely more spiritual now than religious.
Yeah. So what role has your spirituality now played with now your relationship now with God or with spirit and source?
In terms of, what do you mean, what role has it played?
See, like when you said you ended up being more spiritual because you looked at all these doctrines. Let me try and tap into my own relationship with it, or my own understanding and my own feeling with it. But the same if a parent plays a role of like caregiver in your life and you have a relationship with them, partner is like a role of a companion. What role do you feel like now your relationship with spirit or God plays in your life now?
Okay, I think it keeps me grounded. That's the most major thing. And also gives me a sense of hope. Those are the two things. It just keeps me grounded, so it's like you're not the biggest thing in this world.
Yeah.
There's something greater than you. But that's a beautiful thing, because that thing that's greater than you is taking care of you.
Okay. I think for me, yes, I stay grounded. I also get to be more patient with things because I understand there's a divine order to how things will always play out. So I kind of reinforces my patience with things. And just general like love. If there's something that's been taking care of me from jump and I'm still here now, so it leads me to understand like God is love, and love is like what just makes the world go around, that thing. That's how I look at it. I guess we can try and look at like what's the difference between like religion and spirituality then. I think I'll go first because I look at religion as, and this is no like hate to anyone or just like pointing fingers. Religion is like, it's a book and a set of things you've been told to live by, and it's like a rule book. For me, I look at spirituality as you pick what works and what you believe in fundamentally in your bones. And that's how I distinguish the two, and that's how spirituality works for me now. Because I'm led to understand and also be accountable for my own actions. That's for me the major difference comes in.
Okay. I mean, by definition, religion, it's specific. It's like organized, it's super structured. There's these beliefs, these practices that you follow. And it's like this is a community of the people who follow that structure. And then spirituality is more personal. It's like an individual choice practice. you develop beliefs around your meaning of life, of this higher purpose. So I think the difference is that one is more organized and the other one is like more free form.
Yeah.
Religion being more organized. I also think you can do either of them. You can practice either of them. You can practice both of them. But I don't think that being one makes you the other.
No.
So you can be religious without being spiritual.
Yes.
You can be religious just sticking to the practice without having that sense of individual relationship. Yeah. And my favorite thing about spirituality is that it's mostly based out of love. It's more like a connection type thing. It's not really out of like fear or shame.
Or
which a lot
if
of
I
religion.
do this, I'll get this.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think with that, the more you've interacted with people, and I mean, live in a society, so you end up interacting with people who have varied beliefs. Either, and like you're saying, either someone is religious and another person is spiritual. But how do you think you've maneuvered being able to respect? Because I'm trying to imagine having this conversation like with I tried having it with my dad in terms of he's religious, I'm spiritual, but that disconnect between what does that mean and getting to the point where you're able to respect other people's opinions about their like beliefs.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because most religions, all the religions, they preach that their story is the right version of the story. But at the same time, they have so many similarities, despite all the differences and the unique practices, beliefs, structures they have. All of them agree on what you said, the golden rule. All of them have a version of treat others as you want to be treated, whether it's Christians, Hindus, Muslims, if you're practicing Buddhism, Judaism, Taoism, all of them have a sort of that principle is at the core of each of those. So it's understanding that the principle is the same that helps me be more patient. I know people can get really caught up in the details, but the principle is the same and I can respect that. So if I have respect for your religion, I'm not really going to like talk down against it. I might not be practicing it, but I can respect it.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away anything from my beliefs.
True.
Also trying to appreciate the things that I like about different things, like how Muslims have a lot of service, especially. Actually, a lot of religions have a lot of service to the less fortunate tied to the practices.
Yeah.
So I try and focus more on the positives.
Yeah.
And try also understand that no one really actually knows anything for a fact. At the end of the day, like no one really, really, really knows anything for a fact unless you've died and come back. You know, you can't really know what comes after. So it's just that respect and understanding that we're all just also trying to make it out. If it's giving you a sense of belief in something greater and it's giving you hope, then cool.
Yeah, I can't knock it,
I can't knock it and I can respect it.
I mean, I agree. It's just that if it works for you, I'll let you, like, I'm not here to judge or start pointing fingers.
Yeah.
I think I'm no high priest or the overlord of all these things. I just let people believe. Like you're saying, it gives you comfort. That gets you to wake up tomorrow, do what you need to do, still be a decent human being. Then, I mean, by all means, just do what feels comfortable for you. I think it's also being able to create that space for the people to feel comfortable in their own beliefs.
What annoys me is when people try to impose on others.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, you don't need to be doing all that. Like, if your sense of belief is so strong, that in itself, me seeing how much you believe should be enough for me to be like, oh, okay, that's cool, I actually want to try that.
Yeah.
Rather than you having to feel like you need to be all up in my space, making me do certain things. That's when it's like, Kizuri, chajiuza kibaya.
Chajitembeza.
Yeah.
And then I guess, how have you been able, like, to nurture this relationship then? Like with your higher power?
I think it's important to have some sort of consistent practice where you're intentionally connecting with this being. So it could be through, maybe you pray every day, you meditate every day, you go to church every Sunday. If you have those consistent sort of practices where you're intentional about time to connect with a being. I know for some people this is really tied to community, where you feel like I get that to some people the church is so important because
Yes.
that sense of community it gives you.
Yeah.
But also for me it's more like on a personal level.
Attraction.
Something else that really works for me is actually being in nature. I feel like that really helps me feel connected to source, because you just realize like the vastness of everything, and it sort of just validates that there must be something greater than all this, you
Yeah.
know. Something else is that I think has recently helped me nurture this relationship, or stay connected, is paying attention to my intuition and feeding it. I do feel like that comes from somewhere. There's no way that you just know things.
Yeah.
Like trying to pay attention to it and feed it, and pay attention to even like moments of like synchronicity. I feel like that's how you know that it's communicating back to you.
Yeah.
So those are the ways for me. What about you?
I think like also being able to certain practices, like being able to meditate and just being able to quiet and just listen to what's going on around you. You're not the orchestrator of those sounds. It means there's someone else, another person experiencing life. So that means there has to be something else that's being able to give you people this playground to act out your dreams. Two, it's animals. Like interacting with animals allows me to be like, yo, there has to be something. For it to be able to sustain itself, there's something really moving through. I think those are two things that I do to try and like nurture it. Just also spend time like giving back. When you're in a position to, I'm able like to just help people out in terms of people who are not as have access, you know, like to resources, certain. Just being able to help that, I always feel like it kind of reinforces the idea that if they're also still alive, they wake up every day, there has to be something that's pushing them to still keep on pushing on with their lives. Yeah. So for me, I think that's a thing that I try and do, just to like nurture it. Just also spending like me time helps me like try and understand or even hear myself a bit more. So yeah. I guess it's, and like how you said, it communicates back.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you're able now to communicate? How do you pass on? How do you say, so is your higher power, is it something that you ask for things? Do you say thank you? You know, like how do you communicate for it to be like, oh, it spoke back to me?
I think it's a balance between like expressing gratitude but also like asking for blessings on your intentions, or letting them, he, she, it know your intentions and putting them before them.
Yeah.
Seeking blessings for them. So it's both. You I don't think you can just ask. You also need to be grateful for what it is that you actually have right now.
I think the more I learned about like meditation is when I started to realize, okay, prayer is a form of meditation. It's just like, it's a channel you're trying to connect to, and is that just do your part and you let the universe work its magic. So I still pray, in as much as I would say I'm spiritual and everything, but I feel like prayer for me it's a fundamental thing for me. It's a time where I get to appreciate, to be grateful. And so that's how I try and connect now with the spirit. But I like us like to look at, same way you said, it communicates back through synchronicity. I feel like there's certain spiritual experiences that you would go through or have been through, and you're like, ding ding, that's like a sign. I think for me, off top, it's the synchronicities, like you've said.
Yeah.
So I'll like, for me, seeing like 777 somewhere, I always know, okay, fine, that's a good sign.
Also, I feel like sometimes it's crazy how you'll talk about something and it'll happen, or you'll think about something and it'll happen.
Yeah.
That's like a validation that you're on the right path. Like how we talked about Lewis and he called.
Yeah.
Like moments like those, it's like you feel heard.
it's like a thin line between the thought and the manifestation of that thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like those are perfect, like almost perfect timing.
Yeah.
Moments of intuition, like your gut tells you something, and we both know it. You'll say it's your gut, but it's something that was able to communicate that to you like in real time, and you're able to make a decision. And then you look back, hindsight is always 2020. You're like, oh, it kind of like steers you. It's like the wind in your sails that takes you to where you need to be going.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for me, that's what intuition is.
I think it can get tricky sometimes with intuition, where you can be. It can be fear, like that. The balance between it being fear or a negative response rather than it being intuition. I think the thing is with intuition, it's never really something that's like calculated. Like you can't really explain ABC is why I feel like this.
Yeah.
It's just like I feel like this. You know, if it's fear, it's like I feel like this because you might do this. Sometimes with intuition, you don't know, but when you look back at it, it was right. And if you don't listen to that feeling, it was right. Because sometimes it's not. This could be someone, for example, if you're having a negative feeling about someone in your life. This could be someone who's never given you any reason to have that feeling.
Yeah.
But you still have that feeling. And then later it makes sense why you have that feeling.
So I look at it this way. So the connection between your heart and your mind, even as you're forming as an embryo, the first organ that forms is your heart. Meaning internally, that's the most intelligent and the oldest organ you have inside of you. And intuition for me is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more you go with your gut feeling about things, more often than not, you'll end up right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might fumble, but then the more you practice trusting your intuition, the more you're able to make that informed call to be like, if I have this bad feeling about this person, there's a genuine reason as to why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, so bet I'm going to make this call. I think it's something that you practice so that you gain more trust in it. Because at the end of the day, what it's trying to show you, or the universe is trying to show you, that if you trust me a little bit more, I'll get you to where you need to be going. Then that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, for me, just synchronicities, intuition.
Yeah, because synchronicity, like, there'll be meaningful events that you go through that it's like it happens like at just the right time, like the timely occurrence of it. It feels like it's fate or something. You know, you ever have something where it's just like, this can't even be real. Like, how can this happen so perfectly at this time? You know, even those things where people, like, you're 1 minute late and then this happened. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to do with source.
Another thing I normally trust is deja vu. I feel like deja vu is such a deep spiritual experience, because that feeling of I've been here before, it just kind of makes me like allow you to see that the universe or source allowed you to see something before it even actually happened. And the more you trust your intuition and your synchronicities, I feel like you end up having more deja vu because you're at the right place at the right time to experience these things all over again.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I guess just like to maybe towards the end is, what do you understand by spiritual bypassing?
Okay, so let's start like from the psychology side of it. So it was used to describe the tendency to use spiritual ideas and practices to avoid facing unresolved emotional issues. So there was this psychologist, and he worked with, I think, a Buddhist community, and then that's when he noticed that people would do this. So I think people who tend to like only focus on the positive, like it's good vibes only all the time, that's not like really realistic in life. Like, you need to be able to welcome all the parts, all the feelings, in order for you to be authentic. You can't just be, there's this thing where because you're a Christian or because you're religious, spiritual, whatever, there's no bad side to you. There's only these good things, and we never even talk about the bad things. Like the bad things, you don't do that. You'll be having, for example, issues within your family, but you can never like tell someone in the church, or you can never speak about it. Like we're Christians, you know, that sort of thing. I think that's spiritual bypassing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, you kind of like use your religion or your beliefs to be like a shield to not be able to be called out on the things that. A good example, I always say, I mean, it's warranted, but when people say, oh, maybe I'm being moody or I'm being the way I am, is because a certain planet is in retrograde, or I feel like you're not really owning why you are moving the way you're moving. You're blaming it all on something else, which is valid. But I think being able to take responsibility why you're acting the way you're acting is... So always take such things like that. It's just like you're really bypassing what it is that you're actually... The reality of it is, if you're being a dick, you're being a dick. Just don't blame like Pluto on it. That's what it is. Or just don't use your religion to buffer why you're being the way you are. I think for me that's how I look at like spiritual bypassing.
Yeah. If like your beliefs and your behaviors don't match each other, if you believe in this but you act like this, in order for you to fix that, you have to accept it first. You can't just, what you're saying, you like try and give an explanation or a reason or try to validate it.
Yeah.
You just accept it first, you know. You can never like good vibes your problems away. There's work that comes in and you're the one who has to do that work. It's not like there's no real shortcut to it.
Yeah.
If you're praying every day but you're not really taking the actions in reality to make the changes, it's not going to be like a miracle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, just being able to be accountable for your own actions. Again, just try and be a decent human being in this world. That will allow you to... There's no need to portray like you're... I always see this thing like you portray an image of everything is always good, everything is going well, but behind closed doors you're really struggling with things. Don't show face to maintain face. If you're working through something, be able to work through what you're working through, and it's okay.
I feel like that's, saying just that part, it's important. It's okay. Because that's definitely something even I've struggled with. Accepting that it's just the reality of the thing.
Yeah.
That it's just, you're actually just working through it. When you want to present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's, you're being more authentic to yourself and to your human experience. And
you never need to lie to source or spirit or whatever you believe in.
Yeah, it's just keep it 1,000. If we're going to keep it a buck with someone, just keep it a buck with
yourself, first of all.
Yeah. I guess for me, that was like pretty much this episode. I guess I want to say like thank you, a big thank you to everyone who's listened, like from the first episode of this season.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here again for this season.
How are you feeling about this season? Like, how do you feel now that we're at the end of the season?
It's like season 7 is like closer than I think, you know. Like seasons are coming like fast, like we're going through seasons really quick. Also, like a big shout out to Bukachi, because I feel like this has really helped us like kind of like push,
elevate also the quality of what we're putting out.
Like I feel like the growth has been tremendous, and so again a big shout out to Bukachi. I feel excited about just even what we're putting out, how we are looking at the topics. I'm learning so much about myself the more I talk about most of these things, or all these things in general.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about everything?
I feel like I'm a completely different person, and I'm like, will I keep saying that at every season? I'm like, I'm a completely different person, but that's how I really feel.
Yeah.
I think the universe has a funny sense of humor, because the way in which the things we talked about week to week, and how things like in my life, the things that were moving around or the things that were changing in my life week to week were so related.
Yeah.
It was almost annoying because, I definitely think I've learned a lot about myself, just even having to answer these questions that we come up with to discuss and having to really think about some things that I've never really thought about.
Yeah.
So I am really grateful that we've been able to do this series. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you to Bukachi for having us.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
Thank you guys for being a part of this season 2, the relationship series. Looking forward to doing season 3.
Yeah, we'll be back sooner than you guys think.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening and for all the feedback that you give us. We leave all of our social media links in the show notes in case you want to reach out to either of us or both of us.
Thank you.
That's it.
Again, yeah. Peace, love, light.